Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Submariner Date. This is the reference 116613, Lunette Bleu. It has the blue bezel, the blue dial, and this is a rare gem set dial variant. So, in 904L stainless steel and yellow gold, this watch is 40 millimeters in diameter. It's 12.7 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 48 millimeters if we include the solid end links of the bracelet. It is 50.9 millimeters across the wrist and has a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters circumference. You get a good sense of the size. It's a large watch, but not a huge watch. And I've got plenty of clearance on each side, so I could recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference. Taking a look in profile, it fits easily underneath the cuff. Should be no problems there. And the watch has a nice top to bottom balance to it, with the clasp and the bracelet counterweighting the watch head. So if you want to wear it loose, it's not going to hula hoop, flip, or move around a lot. Taking a quick look at the bracelet, it is the long-running Oyster design. We are years past the hollow end links and hollow center links, so these are very robust bracelets. Rolex makes its own bracelets, cases, clasps. They have their own foundry. They make their own alloys, and that helps on a couple of levels. Specifically with this steel, which is a high nickel content steel called 904L that is highly resistant to corrosion in the presence of certain industrial acids and salt, namely body sweat and sea salt. So you don't need to rinse it after exposure. It will not corrode the way some 316s will. The bracelet has a conforming end link. You can see that there's a little bit of a taper moving down toward the clasp, polished centers, polished shoulders, outer faces, and polish. You can see removable links on both sides are fixed by screws. And then we have a little bit more than your average Rolex clasp adjustability here. We have something called glide lock. It is 10 steps in 2 millimeter increments that you can use for fine-tuning the size, or if you wish, pull all the way out for use as a dive extension over a wet or dry suit. Internally, you can see we have a thick gauge single swing arm clasp with a sort of a beak and a hook lift lock mechanism. You can see that there's actually a spring-loaded lift lock right there. That's the first locking factor. That's the second. So it's actually a double locking clasp. There's a little kerf underneath so you can dig your nail under that crown and then relieve it. Taking a quick look at the case flank, you can see this is the so-called super case. It's got broad squared-off lug ends satinated on the top and very sheer sides which are polished. Crown guards, yes. Screw-down crown, trip lock, 300 meters, water resistant. You can see there's also a screw in case back. You know it's a trip lock in gold because it has 3 dots, but the one in the middle is the largest. We have a yellow gold bezel, and then there is a ceramic insert on top. So between the ceramic insert and the sapphire, most of the times this watch comes in contact with something, it will be one of those two scratch-resistant surfaces. Now what you see inside the ceramic is actually deposited yellow gold, so that will not tarnish or fade or stain over time. It is a 120 click bezel, unidirectional rotating. Let's have a listen. It is very smooth, but still well-defined. It has a satisfying click. Line it up with the minute hand, and now you have a 0 to 60 minute count-up timer. Since this is a gem set dial, you can see it's got a slightly different lume aspect than a standard sub. You've got enough luminescence to know what's going on, but critically you've got the lume on the bezel and the minute hand, so you can still use it for timing. Take note that all 3 hands are lumed. That's not always how dive watches are assembled. Sometimes brands only use the minutes and the hours, but it's nice to know if you're relying on this as a backup dive timer that it's still running. Okay, dial base. So we have 2 things going on. First, the base itself is a lovely and lustrous blue lacquer. You can see that we have yellow gold hands, yellow gold indices, even a yellow gold frame for the date. The diamonds themselves are set on yellow gold bases, and they act as the indices for 8 of the hours. Taking a quick look at the secondary settings, you can see we have a hacking or stop seconds function. And then we have a quick set for the date. We have a Cyclops eye magnifier on the dial side, so you can see the date more easily. And underneath the case back, Rolex caliber 3135, bidirectional automatic winding, 48-hour power reserve, stop seconds, quick set date, 8 beats per second, 31 joules, COSC certified Swiss chronometer. Rolex then went above and beyond, taking the certified movement, put it in the case, timing it in 6 positions to run no worse than -2 + 2 seconds per day. That is the basis for that term superlative chronometer. It has a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance for both shock resistance and precision of adjustment. And the watch includes an overcoil hairspring made by hand to help it keep consistent time in any physical position with respect to gravity, because an overcoil's mass is more centered and thus symmetrical side to side and end to end than a flat hairspring. Finally, that hairspring is made of a blue oxidized niobium zirconium that makes this watch highly anti-magnetic. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.